Good evening, everyone. Jay here with my boy Vinson. As we cover Game 3, NBA Finals, Knicks and Spurs. I'm just going to just get right to it. I guess first, I just want to just share real quick. I'm recording live from Sports Bar here in Chicago, Maryland. Some things I'm saying, but here we got reservations. Libations. Let's get right to it, Vinson. So this is gonna be it is NBA Finals. The series is shifting over to Madison Square Garden. So it's Garden's first final since 1999. Knicks are riding a 13-game playoff win streak. Nothing to sniff at, and right now they're holding command 2-0 lead. So as the Knicks look to take care of business, as they took care of business on the road in San Antonio, got the first two games done. In San Antonio, they're back against the wall. They're going to come out try to make some adjustments. How do you see with because the Spurs are coming with a different type of energy. Like I said, they're going to make some changes, especially maybe how they make Vinson. How do you see the Spurs with their response as they take Game 3 against the Knicks?
I think for me, it's more so how they're going to sorry, one moment. How they're going to come out in regards to Towns. I believe the question you're asking, because it's kind of loud, is how they're going to respond to the Spurs coming out tonight, correct?
Right, yeah. Like any adjustments that the Spurs might make for Game 4.
And the changes they might make, correct? I believe some changes they might make in terms of like their offense is kind of getting away from the action that they've been using. It seems like the Knicks have kind of figured that action out, which is like a 5-4 action. You kind of maybe see them utilize some drag action that we saw in that Sixers series. But with that, I definitely expect the Knicks to start and recover, meaning that they're going to kind of show themselves when those screens come, but they're not necessarily going to come up and take those spots. They're just going to stay there and just allow their initial defender to recover and not really get into those passing lanes. Because once you get into those passing lanes, that's where you kind of fall into danger of having the split, having the action go to the middle, have somebody left over in the corner. So I expect them to kind of stay home, be patient, be disciplined coming out today.
Yeah, I think one of the things that may have maybe burned San Antonio as, they're going to run that full court pressure. They're going to be guarding Brunson they may even look to try to trap, but I think maybe they might try to get off that because then it leaves other guys who gets open and get crossed in San Antonio. So to me, right. I think they'll make that adjustment a bit to where they're not. Because honestly, I mean, let's be real. Like Brunson has not had a great NBA Finals.
Right.
I mean, he's made big shots when it mattered, of course, towards the end of the games. But if you look at totality for the overall game, Brunson has not had a good game. But the way I gotta give a lot of credit to Mike Brown is that had not hurt the Knicks because we had the role guys, the bench that's able to come in. We're talking about Lincoln Shannon, guys like that.
Right.
To be able to provide that support for Brunson, so where it doesn't feel like the weight of the world is all the time that he has to do everything. Because again, if we're talking about last year with Tibbs running the helm, we would probably be down 0-2.
Right.
given the way they play. So, yeah, I think it's really a testament to just how Mike Brown has prepared, not just the stars, but just the entire team. He had the best prepared, be able to sacrifice some wins during the season, making these different lineup changes and see what when it
Right.
comes to now he knows the guys he can trust, the different matchups that he can execute, and right now it's been paying off. So, I think San Antonio, of course, is going to play desperate, but I think New York is going to have, they're going to be prepared and ready for that and be able to counteract that.
Right.
So going with that, we talked about the desperation factor. Um, they say history says no team has ever come back from a 3-0 to the finals. So, so we have to expect San Antonio's absolute best punch is going to be early. And
Right.
we've seen that, right? Kind of, especially in the start of those two games, they get hyped. I think as the Knicks weather the storm, they even settle in and they're really executing the game. But I just want to know, like, what are your thoughts on how the Knicks, expecting that, that early flurry from San Antonio?
I think that with them being down 2-0, the Spurs, that the Knicks can definitely expect a lot of what they experienced in Game 2. The Spurs applying pressure to Brunson, trying to get the ball out of his hands early, trying to get them to rush offense. I think the Knicks counter that with having help in the backcourt in terms of ball handling duties, really making it a point of emphasis to get Cat the ball and to initiate the offense through him. I think turnovers, taking care of the ball has to be a priority coming into it. And then, what the Spurs want to do offensively, I feel like there has to be a lot of drop coverage in terms of the guards and how they're playing them and making them shoot because the Spurs haven't shot great in this series. So I do expect the Knicks to the Spurs rather to come out punching, but I do expect the Knicks to still remain poised, play steady like they always have. Honestly, the Spurs, I feel like the Knicks are very unbothered by them, and the fact that the Spurs came out with their head on fire, like literally their heads on fire, and the Knicks went into the half with a lead and was up as much as 14 points. This is a group that in the last, I think since, let's say like 5 years, they played about 52 close games that have been decided in the last 5 minutes within 5 points, and they've won 24 of those. This is a group that lives in the mud. This is a group that knows how to ground out wins. So I do expect a lot of juices to be going. I do expect a certain desperateness from the Spurs, but I do expect the Knicks to be able to counter what they're doing by teamwork and just playing smart and executing, not turning over the ball.
So so we saw in game two, Wemby, he pretty much went on a massive tear. The second, whether you agree or not, Cat picked up those crazy fouls. I think they were like two successive fouls, which I thought was pretty insane. But anyway,
Right.
but as we saw that, Towns had to sit down as he picked up those third and fourth fouls. Right? So the Towns carrying the score for the Knicks. How do the Knicks defend Wemby early without picking up these cheap risks?
Um, I think the Knicks are going to have to use a combination of OG and Mitch to counteract what Cat getting fouls. Cat has played smart, but we kind of saw the way that they were refereeing the game that there was kind of a quick whistle on Cat, a lot of anticipation on him reaching in on Wembanyama. So I expect that Mitch gets a lot of burn in terms of guarding Wembanyama. Same thing with OG. OG has gotten underneath his skin. He's been able to stand him up, neutralize him. The Knicks have been doing a really good job of keeping him out of the paint and making him play on the perimeter. We're seeing that OG and not OG, but Wimby really doesn't have that much of an outside game just yet developed. He doesn't really have any go-to moves. So the more that you kind of make him work outside of the paint, the better for the Knicks. And just having a rotation of players, having a hack at him will help counteract any sort of foul trouble Cat might get in.
So another player that really started to have a spark is De'Aaron Fox. So
Right.
Fox he's going to try to push the tempo even harder to quiet the Emerson crowd. They're going to be loud, make a lot of noise. We don't agree. And it's like, again, as we talked about from the start, that first finals games is but what structural adjustments do Jalen Brunson and Jose Alvarado need to make at the point of attack to slow down?
Um, I think from a pressure standpoint, they need to pick him up, and they need to pick him up early. Um, I believe, you need to continue to try to test him because I really don't believe Fox is at 100%. He did have a nice bounce back game with 20 points, but I don't really think he's 100%. And I would test him early on in terms of ball pressure. I definitely would play drop because what he wants to do and what the Spurs want to do is him to be the playmaking guard. So I would play a drop coverage. I would try to contain him on a drive going to the rim. I would make him an outside shooter and seeing what he could do from there and then adjust. I think Brunson has been doing an okay job on him in terms of playing him straight up. Again, these two have a history in terms of competing against each other. They're very familiar with one another. So I do like that matchup. But on the other end, I also think you have to challenge Fox. You have to make him guard. You have to really see where he's at, because anybody can kind of put it together for one game, but it's a war of attrition. You have to see who is the one that's going to last the longest, and anything that you could use as leverage, such as him being compromised with his hamstring, you got to use it.
And as you say that, I do want to correct myself on our last live. So Fox is definitely his ankle. He was right the first
or his
time.
ankle, rather.
His ankle, yeah. Fox's ankle is the problem, not his hamstring. So you were definitely right.
Got you.
I would do that to make sure those listening we give correct information.
Right.
But so as we go on, so let's talk about the corner threes, right? Think about like Champagny, and he's the one that's really toasted us. Also,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Dylan Harper as well. So we saw the Spurs. They mounted a massive fourth-quarter comeback. Game two, they found those shoes we just talked about, and they beat Side Kicks. So how do we like the guys like Mikal Bridges, OG and Anunoby, really tighten up the perimeter of the team?
Well, they got to stay attached to the shooter. A lot of time, they're kind of in the gaps. They're sitting. They have their hands out, but they're really playing more towards the strong side and not staying attached to the shooters. And this is making them susceptible to off-ball action, such as flare screens. And this is how Chad Penny is getting open. You saw it with Jose Alvarado in Game 1, where he wanted to play towards the steal, and Chad Penny burned for 2 threes, and Chad Penny started Champagne started talking crazy to him going up the court. Stay attached to the shooters. Run them off the line. Make them put the ball on the floor and turn them into a secondary playmaker, which they don't want to do. You know what I mean? Make them have to create offense in a different way other than getting a knockdown three. That's how, I kind of see the Knicks playing this one out. In terms of like Dylan Harper, physicality has to be there. In terms of Mikal Bridges and a point of attack, whoever's guarding him, he's just getting to the lane way too easy off his first step. You're gonna have to like bump him. You're gonna have to take that initial hit from him. I know he's like the strongest rookie they're saying ever to come into the league, but you still have to you got to sacrifice your body. It's NBA finals. Slide your feet. take the hit, force him to do something that he doesn't want to do, stunt, get out there, make him second guess where his secondary defender is, and make him take a shot that he really doesn't want to take. A lot of times you just get into the rim, he's doing whatever he wants.
Yeah, and and that's a great point. Yeah, you want to get them out of their comfort zone because as you just alluded to, I've felt it too many times where, and I'm catch myself just yelling at the screen where you're just leaving guys land champagne and just watch. I'm like, he is not the guy.
No, he's not that guy.
He will make you pay, and he's done that. So the Knicks definitely can tie it up and make sure. I'd rather give up a 2 than a 3. So
right.
we gotta make sure we keep him out of that 3.
He's made 2 threes each game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, they're pretty much funny, man. You leave them, especially, I keep thinking of Champagne, even going back to the NBA Cup game. I mean, numerous times you leave him open, he's gonna make it.
Right.
Again, like, because those are guys you definitely don't want to.
Right.
Maybe. So you definitely gotta watch out for that. So let's talk about the keys. So I say like the blueprint. I'd say it's adequately executed. What are the definitive on-floor execution keys for the Knicks to completely break the Spurs spirit?
Can I have the third cocktail?
I would say keys and breaking the Spurs spirit or victory to the game. One, definitely crashing the boards and crashing them early. It takes away their second chance opportunities. Really getting up underneath them. Taking their time on offense. Really running their sets. Utilizing that Cat matchup. Cat has been just taking Wemby's lunch like the whole entire series, and it needs to continue to do so. That's who their engine is. That's the heart and soul of their team. And they see that their guys compromise. I don't really think that they're there in terms of their maturity to rally around him and to get the job done. He's the head of this thing, and Cat has been doing a great job taking them out of the game for the most part until like the second. I want to say like the fourth quarter where he's really getting momentum. I will say this: Cat has to kind of show up. He's been playing great. Don't get me wrong, but if you notice in the fourth quarter, he hasn't scored both games. I think, and playing through Cat in the fourth and utilizing that matchup, that really was going to break their momentum of any sort that they may have coming into that fourth quarter if the game is close. But I do think early on, as long as they're rebounding, as long as they're applying pressure, as long as they're generating the turnovers that we're accustomed to seeing them doing, I think that the atmosphere, as charged up as it is, might be too overwhelming for the Spurs in Game 3.
And that's one because like for as far as with matching with Wemby and Wemby's on the court and then when he sits down, definitely Cat already he's already been filleting Wemby as far as when Wemby tries to guard Cat. But now it's a whole different story when comes in when Wemby sits down. I mean, forget it. That's not a chicken.
Right.
So when we wrestle and rotates, that interior depth for the Spurs is extremely big. So I think you kind of touched on this, but like for Townsend Mitch to exploit those non-Wemby like how do they execute that Townsend Mitch to really take advantage of the Wemby system?
Ask that question again. Sorry. I didn't get to hear the end of that.
So I was just asking that how do Towns and Mitch exploit those non-Wemby minutes when to really punish the Spurs when they take.
Gotcha. I think in terms of taking advantage of non-1B minutes, um, Cat has to win his matchups every time. I think the Knicks need to utilize Mitch more and pick and roll action and getting him easy lobs. I think he dominates on the board. He's clearly the best backup center in the series when he's out there. Um, I think they just need to throw their weight around. Like they've been making it really hard on Wemby the whole series. This is why he can't get into the paint. I feel as long as they're throwing their weight around and they're being grown men, because you have to remember Wemby's in his early 20s and both Cat and Mitch are, I want to say, like early 30s themselves. It's a different ball game. It's a different kind of wrestling. They have to impose their will on the boards and taking advantage of their matchup, and then just executing and the set plays that Mike Brown is calling in terms of the short lob, rolls, and pick and roll action to in order to take advantage of those non-Wemby minutes.
And one other point we talked about the series is shifted to New York, so you already know that the Garden is going to be electric. So how do the Knicks, feed off that energy to trigger transition points without getting sloppy and forcing bad possession?
Right. I think in terms of taking care of like the energy that's going into the Garden and playing off of that, I just think that they just need to value the basketball more. Like they need to take care of it, be intentional about what they're doing on the court. Honestly, that's why they won game one. They were very intentional about what they were running, who the ball was going to, where they wanted to go with it, what kind of action they wanted to dictate out of the Spurs. This is their home court. This is their city. They've been here before in terms of like the Garden crowd, even though we're probably going to see something we've never seen before tonight. But I just think that they keep the main thing, and they execute and they show that this is why they're the veteran team. This is why they're here and they've overcome everything because they've been a team that has been professional, been able to keep their composure, that's been able to impose their will and to close the game out.
Yeah, I think when it comes, there's a lot of storylines tied to it, especially with the Knicks coming back playing the first.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be electric. We want to make sure that you don't get hype off of it, but enough to and just really ride that. So I expect to be good, and the crowd will be a big factor. So as we get ready here, just want to get your thoughts, Vinson. Final score prediction, and we have winning the game and final score prediction.
I have the Knicks winning the game tonight, and I do think they do impose their will at some point mid-second quarter or mid-third quarter, and we actually win by 20. I think we get into, I want to say, Knicks 118, Spurs, let's go 98, 100.
Yeah, so I guess 18-20. Yeah, if you're doing 20, then 118.
Yeah, 18, 20 points.
Okay. I got the Knicks. I have the Knicks winning. Yeah, for me, I think it's gonna be a little bit closer. I think it's gonna be around probably like a 10-point lead, 10-point win for the Knicks. So yeah, I have. I think it's gonna be like a 190.
Right. I can definitely see that happening.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, good show, sir. Let's get ready for game 3. Those everybody watching, thank you for joining in. And yeah, we'll check in a little later. As we sit back and enjoy the game.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's it for us, man. Signing off. Later.